Hey, I'm Ray Hudson, and you are, I don't know who you are, but you're listening to Blaugrana Graham. Don't be like them kids in the Blair Witch Project and go away, alright?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Driven Shot podcast here on Blaugrana Graham TV and the Blaugrana Graham social media channels. I'm Omar Hawwash, and with me I've got Joav. How are you doing, Joav?
Good, Omar. Could have done better with the weekend, but good nevertheless.
Yeah, we will, of course, be talking about that game during this podcast, which, as you might know, airs every Monday at 4 p.m. Of course, with some exceptions that we will have down the line. Presumably, we will, of course, keep you updated about those. But for the time being, it is every Monday at 4 p.m. Central European time, and it is on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Or Facebook, sorry, not Instagram. Well, if they do make an Instagram live that you can do like this, we'll obviously do it. But until then, it's just through Facebook. Now, of course, before we start, do keep in mind that you can give us, send us your questions and thoughts down below. I know that some of you want to blow off some steam, so you can do that in the comments below. Of course, keep it civil. I think it's very necessary to emphasize that. But we will be, of course, talking through some of the points from the last game for Barcelona, which, of course, was the Clásico, and it was a 2-1 loss at the Estadi
Alfredo Di Stefano.
And, I mean, a lot was said about that game before the game, and I know a lot of fans were disappointed with the result from a Barcelona perspective. The way I see it, I don't think it was – I mean, looking at it again now, after, 2 days have passed by and you've had time to, sit and just, think about it. I think Barcelona got unlucky more than anything. Because I really don't think – I mean, some of the games that Barcelona have had in the past, some of the big games, you've seen where at least, let's say just a year ago, for instance, where it seemed like they weren't up to the level they wanted to be at and they couldn't get into the game the way they wanted to. This time, though, I don't think that was the case. I think Ronald Koeman did a lot of things right, and I think the players had the right mentality going into the game. And, barring the first goal, which wasn't lucky, it was good, quick play. Barcelona got caught off guard. The second goal was, of course, the Toni Kroos direct free kick, which maybe direct is an overstatement. I mean, it hit off Serginho Dest and then off Jordi Alba and then into the back of the net. But looking at the game again and looking at how Barcelona were playing, I don't think that – I definitely do believe that was an unlucky loss more than anything, because I think a lot of things were done right, and I think a lot of positives can be taken from that match. What do you think?
I was talking with my brother and my dad. My brother is a diehard Real Madrid fan, and I was telling him this team the Real Madrid team remembered me of the one of Carlo Ancelotti. They had 2-3 chances, they scored, and then they were just fine, just waiting off the rest of the match. I mean, the first goal is obviously like a sublime touch by a back heel by Karim Benzema. Neither Ronald Araujo or Ter Stegen was I could actually do something, because I think he was 2 meters off from Ter Stegen, and Ronald Araujo was just trying to react as quickly as possible. So neither of them could have done really anything to change that. And then I mean, the free kick, I mean, I think it was going somewhere near Ter Stegen, but then Serginho Dest just crossed. I don't know why he was positioned there, because he was neither part of the wall, and he was taking away, I think, visibility from Ter Stegen. But at the end of the day, he just had a touch on it and he deflected and went in. But after that, I mean, once again, I think we saw resilience from Barcelona, because even though they scored 2 goals in 10 minutes or something like that, Real Madrid, Barcelona went straight off to attack. They didn't just put their heads down and wait for the halftime. I mean, they went straight for the attack against Real Madrid. One thing that I do want to mention, that I mean, tactically speaking, I do think Zidane won over Koeman, at least at the beginning, bringing on Federico Valverde and putting him in a position where he could really make life impossible for Jordi Alba, because Jordi Alba in the first half, he didn't really do anything because he was so preoccupied with Federico Valverde's physicality and his like his display of stamina that seemingly does not end. Because I mean, he had like these 40 meters, 50 meters like dashes where he went from box to box literally. And I mean, that's why the first goal even happened, because he took the ball and he ran with it.
Yeah.
And Jordi Alba couldn't really do anything because he was always trying to catch up. But yeah, I mean, at least at that point, I do think that Federico Valverde was a key part for Real Madrid until he was taken off.
He definitely was. I think also one thing I found quite interesting was that as we were talking about on, and I imagine you guys were talking about it too, is that the idea, at least looking at it on paper, you'd imagine that the battle would be in midfield. And I was talking about this when we were commentating on FC Barcelona's official Twitch channel, that it seemed like, looking at the midfield that Zidane had put forth and looking at the midfield that Ronald Koeman had put forth, that they genuinely just were imagining that it would be midfield v midfield. You had the right balance, no really risks taken in terms of the players that were selected. But the way the game folded, it really wasn't through the midfield. The game went out through the wings mostly. And you have a player like Fede Valverde who is quite quick. Even for a midfielder, he is considerably fast. And having that type of player and playing him as a wild card, which really was the ace of Zidane's sleeve, other than Marco Asensio, who was later introduced, I think having that definitely added that shock, that X factor to Barcelona's style, because all of a sudden now you have to cope with Fede Valverde, who can play on the wing in a more advanced position, and it worked for Real Madrid. But I think looking at how the game was played and how it folded out, I think Barcelona definitely controlled the right areas of the pitch and were able to get these attacks going from I remember the first half they weren't attacking too much through, I believe, the right side. The second half that changed and it was a bit more balanced. They were able to attack on both flanks and through the middle, and that's when Messi was able to get more involved because he was getting more of the ball, which I also think was key to the goal, is being able to play through the middle, and that's what worked. So, I mean, again, I know it's very easy for people to just point fingers, and I even saw people blaming Pedri. I've seen people blame Jordi Alba. I've seen people blame a lot of players, or even Antoine Griezmann, who, in my eyes, had a good game. I mean, you got to remember, he's up against the Real Madrid defense that, while on paper doesn't look amazing, Eder Militao has been in very fine form recently. Nacho has become a really solid player for Real Madrid in the absence of Ramos and Varane. Ferland Mendy has had an astonishing season for the most part. And you look at that team, and it's very limited what an attacker can do in those positions, because Real Madrid contained Barcelona well. But the good thing is for Barcelona is that's one of the things I think definitely is a positive to take from this, is that, as you said, they kept going, they kept trying to attack, they kept trying new things out, and they didn't give up. And that's the spirit and the sense of unity that people have been calling for so long. And we saw it, because a lot of people, at least outside the stadium, a lot of fans, when it was 2-0, started saying, well, the game is over. That's it. They're going to get a third, and they're going to win. But on the pitch, that's not what was shown. And if you look at the numbers and the statistics, Barcelona dominated that game for the most part. Granted, in the first half, Real Madrid did get on the front foot twice through those goals. And at first, they definitely troubled Barcelona. And, I mean, with Real Madrid's style, they don't mind just sitting back, absorbing pressure, and then striking on the counter. But even that, they weren't able to do as much as they would have liked, because Barcelona really were solid all across the board. They were just unlucky to not, in my opinion, and I say this because I genuinely believe that Barcelona played very, very well, to the extent of having been able to beat them on a better day. And perhaps the weather also played a part in that, because, I mean, then again, both teams have, they're enduring the same weather. It's not like one team is playing in rainy conditions, they're playing in sunny conditions. But the style of play that Barcelona deploy is different. And when it's raining, it's harder to get those short passes going as much as you want. Whereas with a long pass, a searching ball, you can ping it, and it depends more on the run than it depends on the actual pass and the weight of the ball and the weight of the pass. Because when you're playing quick, short passing football, if the ball, when it's been raining a lot, if you've played football, you'll know this. is very heavy. And it's also very easy when there's a lot of wind to not have the accuracy that you want on it. Whereas if you're pinging a long ball, if you put enough power, it might it's more likely to get there. Because you'll just angle the ball depending on the run of whoever you're trying to target. And that worked for Real Madrid with Vini, with players like Benzema. And Barcelona don't have that style of play, so they suffered a bit more. But I think everything considered, it should have at the very least been a draw, considering what was played on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the first half, as you said, Barcelona really on the wings couldn't really do anything. On the right wing, Des was not that involved as we would have liked, probably. Yeah. On the left wing, as we said, Jordi Alba was really well contained by Fede Valverde. And then in the middle, you had Messi that was facing 2 or 3 defenders every time. I mean, he received the ball, and it was either Casemiro that was always on him, and then it was either Nacho or Militao. Militao played a really good game for Real Madrid. Every time Barcelona tried to cross it, Militao was all over the ball. He just headed it away as far as possible. But I mean, in the second half, Barcelona really tidied up and they tried to attack. As you said, I mean, statistics-wise, Barcelona had 69% of the ball against 31% of Real Madrid. Well, as we all know, Barcelona liked to play short passes in a lot of them. So Barcelona had 707 against 316 of Real Madrid. And, well, I mean, shots on target, it was 18 against 14, but of all those shots, 4 were on target for Barcelona, just 3 for Real Madrid. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can look at statistics all day long, but the game was really, I think, more for a draw for Barcelona than it was a win for Real Madrid, because Real Madrid had 2 or 3 opportunities. They took 2 really well, but then Barcelona had also 2 or 3 in which Courtois was either really good, quick to his feet, or was in the right position. And then, I mean, the last crossbar by Elias Moriba, that was almost an absolute stunner. But, well, other than that, Barcelona really did have their chances, but they faced a really good defense that probably a lot of people did not predict was going to do as well with all the pressure of El Clásico. And, well, just like to highlight, I think really the man of the match for Barcelona was Oscar Mingueza. I mean,
I was about to say.
Surprisingly, it was a defense for Barcelona. He scored the goal coming on basically undetected inside the box. I do believe
finish as well.
I do believe it was Griezmann, right, that let the ball pass between his legs.
Yeah, it was.
He went to the first. Yep, he went to the first post. He let it pass in between his legs, and then just Mingueza ran directly to the ball and hit it. I don't know with what part of his leg he hit it, but he just
look an outside the foot shot.
Yep,
Luis Suarez-esque.
But yeah, I mean, that was in, and then also I think Marcelo had the opportunity of scoring the third one for Real Madrid, and Mingueza just came out of nowhere and put his feet in between the ball and Marcelo and just pointed out a little bit so that Ter Stegen could pick it up. So I think Mingueza really stepped up to the challenge. He did not commit a foul. He did not receive a yellow card, something that I was sort of worried, because I saw like a comparison of Vinicius Mbappe style, like really, really fast. They try to attack the space really quickly so that they can have long balls. But yeah, I mean, Mingueza played a really, really good game.
No, he did. I mean, the thing as well to consider, I mean, as you said about Mingueza, I think even Ronald Araujo, I think Mingueza's performance didn't go under the radar as much because he got on the scoreline, but I think Ronald Araujo as well had a really, really good game.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about 2 defenders that are as young as they are, starting in their first Clásico, and really putting on a show. Clément Lenglet, I know a lot of people have been very quick to criticize him recently, but he also had a really, really solid game, in my opinion. Didn't do anything noteworthy, didn't do anything bad, didn't have any, fatal errors. No. And I think for the most part, I think he is regaining his form. And the question for Ronald Koeman then will be, who will he play where in that defense? Because you have Clément Lenglet, you have Gerard Piqué coming back from injury. You've got Sergio Roberto who can play right back. And it's just a lot of players to contain.
Yeah, I mean, also Ronald Koeman will have to face next season, not knowing if he will have that same three defender system, especially if Eric Garcia really comes to Barcelona, and then you would have some sort of an overbooking for that defense of three, because as you said, you would have Oscar Mingueza that has been taking gigantic leaps this season for Barcelona. Ronald Araujo that's been really solid, and if he can really continue this progress, he could become one of the biggest sensations in defense for Barcelona. And then you have Clement Lenglet that's not really that old. I mean, he's had a lot of games under his belt, but he's like 27, 28, so he would still have another 4 or 5 years in his for his legs to still be at Barcelona. Then you have Gerard Piqué. Then you would have Eddie Garcia. So yeah, I mean, who would you play where? Still with a 3-man defense. Maybe if it would be go back to 4-3-3. We don't know. I mean, but yeah, at least we have those options. It would be worse to not have those options. Just be like, oh well, who is he going to play? Like the one who is not the worst to say, but well, at least we have those options.
Yeah, no, and again, I mean, as well as Junior Firpo, of course, also is a name that we've seen in that 3-man back line as well earlier this season. So there are a lot of players that can be played in that team, and I mean that's a very good sign, especially if you get another defender in like an Eddie Garcia or any other defender that's solid. That just adds more stability to your team, and that's what you'd want going into the new season. And if you want to compete for all 3 trophies, which undoubtedly they will want to do. So, there's a lot to look forward to, I think, with this defense. And I think players like Oscar Mingueza, players like Ronald Araujo, they will get this rise to, well, not to maybe fame is a bit too glamorous, but they'll have this rise to a prominent role in the squad if they keep performing the way they have been. And performing in a game like El Clásico is definitely a huge booster, both morally for the team, because, I mean, again, yes, they lost 2-1, but they played really, really, really well. That's the way I see it. I know a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people, both on game day after the game and even yesterday and even today, say that, oh yeah, Barcelona didn't play well, they didn't perform, they don't perform in big games, and all this stuff, right? And I really don't think that's true. I genuinely don't think that's true, because if you look at how Barcelona have been playing in the recent couple of games, and even in the comebacks against Granada, against Sevilla, in the Copa and La Liga, this is a team that's definitely improved, and a team that knows what's at stake during these big games and performs with that in mind. It's not a team that walks into these games, even against the smaller teams. It's not a team that walks in complacent and says, yeah, we're going to win this anyway. It's not going to matter.
No.
That change in mentality has been instilled by Ronald Koeman very, very well, and he's managed to combine that with the introduction of players like Ilaish, Pedri, really, getting them to gel into the team and making them a big part of the team. Riqui Puig is slowly getting a chance, and I know a lot of people will be screaming his name saying, yeah, if he played, it would have been different, and maybe it would. We don't know that. Maybe it would. It's one of those what-if questions that probably won't go answered for a little while.
No.
But, I mean, it is a lot to there are a lot of players that have to be taken into this equation. And even a player like Sergio Roberto, and that's also a point that a lot of Barcelona fans are talking about, is Sergio Roberto has been out for a very long time. He's just come back. You took out Pedri and you put in Roberto instead of Riqui Puig, even though Riqui Puig and Pedri have similar playing styles. So if you wanted a like for like swap, rather than a Pedri for a player that always does well in El Clásico swap, and playing him at right back. But I think that's why Roberto was in, but instead of Riqui Puig, is because Koeman wanted to switch to a 4-man defense. And that's what he did. He had Alba on the left, I believe Mingueza and Longley centrally, and then Roberto on the right, because Dest was taken off. Yeah. So if he put Puig in, he's not going to play Puig at right back.
No.
And who else would you play at right back without sacrificing what they can offer going forward of the players on the bench? I mean, you could play Firpo, but Firpo is predominantly a left back. So Roberto was the logical choice there. And I think a lot of people neglect that because all they see is, I want Riqui Puig to play. Why is he not playing? There is a gap here in this midfield where Pedri was taken off. Why is Riqui Puig not introduced? And it's logical that Roberto is the one to get in there. And I think he had a good game. I mean, he didn't do a whole lot, but he did what he could.
Yeah,
And I think he kept the Madrid players in check, and he did what he had to do going forward. Didn't lose the ball, didn't make any fatal errors. Actually, I think a pretty good comeback game for him.
Yeah, I think he delivered. He did what he had to do. He didn't do anything more than he was asked to, and he didn't do anything less. He just did what he had to do. He had a mission. It was like basically just keep these players in check. Don't let all the ball flow through this area of the pitch, and just block any attempt by Real Madrid. And he did do that. I mean, especially containing Vinicius. That was basically in the second half. He didn't really touch the ball at that lot. And then Marcelo, that had that one chance and was really active for Real Madrid in the last few minutes, but he also didn't really do anything. No shots, no really important cross. But yeah, I think Roberto did really well. I mean, we could pinpoint a lot of players and just tell them that, this one underperformed, this one this. But I mean, we also have to take into consideration it's El Clásico. In a Clásico, it really doesn't matter if you have like a winning streak of 40 games. In a Clásico, anything can happen. I mean, a lot of people
goes out the window.
Yeah, I mean,
really
I've
does.
seen like 3 or 4 times in which all the analysts say, it's a win for Barcelona because Real Madrid don't have any good form right at the moment. They don't have their main players, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Real Madrid just go and win. Because in El Clásico, it doesn't matter. Nobody really cares about statistics in El Clásico as long as you win. It doesn't matter really how you win as long as you win because it's a rival. Especially, I do think Real Madrid have a little bit more of, I don't know if anger towards Barcelona rather than Barcelona towards Real Madrid, because let's remember that Barcelona really dominated them for a long time. And now it's like Real Madrid trying to establish some kind of domination now over Barcelona. And I do think they have like that hunger because every time they face Barcelona, they look like a completely different team to the ones they've had like 2 or 3 weeks before. So I do think that it's something that we can like really easily criticize from the outside. But I do think like any of us playing in a Clásico, our legs would just shake at the image of seeing Real Madrid on the other side of the pitch. But I mean, I do think Barcelona really had to take away this resilience. Even though they were two goals down, they tried to attack. And it's something that Ronald Koeman has done really well, especially in these young players that I do think it's really easy for young players to just tear apart if they do something wrong. But a lot of these young players do bounce back. And I do think that it's really good that Ronald Koeman backs them up, and especially if he continues on to next season, he will continue to back these really young players like, as you said, Araujo, Mingueza, Pedri, Ilaish, even Ricky, I do believe. Dest, that had like a low point during the season after he came back from an injury. But if he does continue, he will continue to back these players up. And I do think it would be really prolific in the future for Barcelona to have these young players, especially if they do come from La Masia. I do see a difference with players from La Masia. I do think they love the club at a different level from players that are signed in and have the dream of playing in Barcelona. But I do think La Masia players love the club even more. And I do think they have like this fire to them, like Mingueza, that never stops running, never stops trying to do something for the team. So I do think it is really good to have these kind of players.
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully agree, and I mean, it is, you know, it's a good sign that there is this spirit within the team that they want to, you know, give it their all, even though there is a 2-0 deficit on the scoreboard, and they showed that, and I think that is one of the things that Ronald Koeman has done really well. You know, now with that game behind us, though, of course, there is the Copa del Rey final of 2021. Do keep in mind that the last edition of Copa del Rey was stopped due to COVID, and the final for that was played a couple of days ago, which was the Basque Derby, Athletic Club against Real Sociedad. And Real Sociedad actually came out with the win with Imanol Alguacil, their manager, who's been with them for years and years and years, celebrating it like a fan, which was truly a beautiful sight. But that also does mean that Athletic Club right now are, you know, they are suffering from.
A recent
they will have
win.
that defeat in their mind,
in
in their heads going into this game. that they just lost a final and they're going into another one. And the thing with Athletic Club is that every time they face Barcelona this season, they've looked very dangerous, even last season. And they are a team that managed to really trouble Barcelona, and even on the road. So that game, I think, I do believe that we'll see a similar starting lineup to the one we saw at El Clásico. I don't think we'll see too many drastic changes, although I could see PK start, although I'm not too sure for who. I would imagine it might be for Araujo.
Yeah, I mean they have like a similar how to say, like, profile, big, physical, and you can't take off really Mingueza because Mingueza is really speedy in comparison to Araujo. Araujo is really also, he's fast, but I do think Mingueza is faster. And then Longley and Longley on the left, since he is a left player.
Left-footed player,
I do think he has like a more dominant side to him in that aspect. Well, specifically in that position.
Yeah, and also I think Longley is very much establishing himself once again as a key player in that Barcelona defense, which is great news for Ronald Koeman because Longley is a good anticipator of the play, and he is an intelligent player. He knows how to use his speed and physicality to kind of shield off the ball or read into that space and block it before the ball gets in there. And I think that's something we've seen from him recently, which I'm very happy has happened because he is, at least for me, he's one of my favorite Barcelona players in recent times. So it's very nice to see him have that success again. And also that means that Ronald Koeman has one less thing to worry about because that's one defender that you know will be solid for you.
Yeah, because I do remember that people bashed him, but also he was like really unlucky with his hand placement.
Yeah, he got so unlucky for a while.
Yeah, because I mean, every single deflection that went his way, it just hit his hand.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh my God, not again. And then the penalty against who was it? Icardi in the second leg of Champions League.
I think it was either Icardi or Kian. I'm not sure. The second leg. No, the second leg. I'm actually not sure. But I remember that penalty.
And we always said like, well, I don't know. It was a dubious penalty, but I mean, he wasn't lucky.
He was. Just look at some of the comments here. Fatis is in our live chat. Once again, thank you for tuning in. We're happy you're here, and we hope you're enjoying this episode so far. If you are, feel free to drop us a like or a follow on whatever platform you're watching on. If you are on Apple Podcasts, because this, of course, does go out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts, this will be out there. Do drop us a rating if possible, or follow us on there. Now, Fares is talking about the mentality that we were talking about earlier. It says that it shows that they're, as in they being Barcelona, are always the ones fighting till the end, until no matter what, which is true.
Resilience.
Yeah, for sure. And perseverance. And he says, what did you think of Langley in El Clásico? I think we've already went over that. I personally think he did quite well. He didn't have an outstanding performance, not in the sense that he didn't play very well, but in the sense that he didn't do anything that stood out.
Spectacular, yeah.
Yes. So
he delivered.
He delivered. He definitely did. He looked very, very solid, I think, and did what he had to do, did everything right. He drove forward a lot, which he likes to do. He's a ball-playing center back, sort of like Gerard Piqué, which is really nice to see that he has that confidence to do that again. And it definitely helped because it opens up some spaces and opens up some avenues for passes, and Barcelona were able to exploit that. With reference to the penalty that we're talking about in the second leg, Sammy Goes Crazy says it was Icardi, which I think might be true, actually. Yeah.
Amazing image. Sammy Goes Crazy. I think it's Frankie de Jong on top of a lion. His like avatar.
Oh, yeah, it is. I love that.
Amazing picture, Sammy.
I love that. That's awesome. Let's see here. We have a question here from Sammy again. Says, do you guys think we can still win the league? I honestly think that, yes, I think Barcelona can definitely still win the league because, again, you have to remember the standings right now. We will we'll have some graphics for next episode for league standings and stuff. I think that could be quite interesting. But right now, as things stand, Barcelona are 2 points ahead, 2 points away from first place and 1 away from second. So there is a lot to fight for still. And I think it definitely does seem like there is some inconsistency in Real Madrid and in Atleti, which eventually will be exposed to any team that will be able to trouble them enough to not give them the 3 points. And then hopefully at that time, Barcelona will be able to, grasp that opportunity by the neck and kind of get that grip on the La Liga table again and go top. And I definitely do believe that there is definitely still a chance for Barcelona to win La Liga. And, if Ronald Koeman's and company, if they can win the Copa del Rey final this Saturday, that is a huge boost going into the remainder of La Liga.
Well, yeah, just want to add, I do think Barcelona can win because let's remember that, basically Real Madrid, unless something really strange happens on Wednesday, I do think they play against Liverpool in Anfield.
Yeah.
They are to the semifinals, and they will have to decide which is more important to them because of their squad depth at the moment. They will have to decide if either they will go all out on La Liga or all out in the Champions. And as we know, Real Madrid have a huge ego for Champions League. So I do think they will go on to prioritize the Champions League. Atletico has really just been the downfall. They only have themselves to blame, really. Cholo Simeone doesn't really do anything to do something different. And now Luis Suarez is injured, basically the one that has saved them so many times with a late goal for Atletico de Madrid. So I do think Barcelona have a good chance. And now, especially since it's only the final for Barcelona, and then after the final, they can really just focus on La Liga. Yeah. I do think they do have a good chance, and especially since it's just a 2-point difference with a leader and one with Real Madrid. Yeah. So, yeah, I do think they have the chance. And especially as we've been talking about, they have resilience, so they can't come back.
Yeah, I do agree. I think the chance definitely still is there, and I'm very optimistic because, given how Barcelona played, and even in El Clásico and against Paris in the second leg, it's looking very promising, and this is a team that definitely is going places. So I would be surprised if Barcelona didn't win the league, given the inconsistency of the two other teams in that top three. Simon says, "Thanks, lads, for the for the praise on that profile picture. I love it. It's awesome." Let's see. Sammy again says, "One more question. Do you guys believe a 3-4-3 with Pedri drop for Grisi is a good lineup against Bilbao?" Let's see. Also, PK for Araujo. Sort of, but
so you would have to play Grisi like your forward 9 and Dembele like on the left wing and Messi more on the right wing. That we know he'll go back to the center because he's just like a free roamer, or
I think what he's thinking of is having Dembele on the right, Messi as a 9, and Griezmann as on the left, and like swap those two swapping, because we've seen Messi liking to go out on the left wing quite a lot recently. I don't know if you've noticed that, but he's been roaming around that left wing quite a while for quite a while in the past few games.
It could also be like a 3-4-1-2 with Messi behind Antoine and Dembele.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be like a little bit more logical. But yeah, I do see it happening. But let's be honest, Koeman really loves Pedri, and he plays a lot
with reason. With reason.
With reason. It's not like he's not that good and he just plays because Koeman has a really good relationship with him. But it could happen. It is something different that he could try, especially since Griezmann really performed really well with those minutes that he had in El Clásico. So we'll see, because also he has a good relationship with Messi. And something that I sometimes don't like of Pedri is that when he has the opportunity to shoot, he always tries to pass the ball to Messi. Even when he has like a clear shot, he passes it to Messi. I understand it's the pressure of playing with Messi. It's something that has happened with a lot of players, but it could happen. It is a final. It's just 90 minutes to see who's the best team. And if Grisi is in good form recently and he's scoring goals or at least assisting, he could be, especially in La Copa del Rey, Griezmann has been a really important figure with Barcelona, especially in that Granada game for the comeback.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not mind that lineup, especially it would give Pedri a bit of a rest because he's also played in the Clásico. He's played in a lot of games recently. So personally, I would not mind that. So let's see here. Fedus with a couple of questions here. He says, What are your thoughts on the alleged Alba and PK conversation that was leaked, in which PK told Alba to calm down and we'll win the Copa? And Jordi apparently said, I don't know. I personally have not seen that clip.
No, me neither. Sorry.
I don't know. I'm sorry about that, but we haven't seen the clip that you're referring to. But I mean, a lot is said in the heat of the moment, and I know a lot of people will be bashing Jordi Alba's mentality because people have spoken about his mentality in a negative light, and you know, I mean, I think it's improved from what we used to see. At least, I think he's definitely looking like the player that really used to be at the top level, and he's definitely shown that recently. Barring that one mistake that you could argue he made for that Lucas Vazquez run that gave Real Madrid the lead, I think he's been excellent recently, even for the national team. Yeah. And I think maybe that mentality issue that people say he had at the time at the Anfield game, I think was just from added pressure, and you could then later see that as we've come to see is that it was there's just a lot of pressure on Barcelona with those games, and it got to them in a point where they just started having these like flashbacks, quote unquote flashbacks, to games where they had a lead and then just saw a comeback happen against them. And I don't think that was exclusive to Jordi. I just think that you reach a time in your career where that kind of stuff, if it happens more than once, that just influences the entire team. Yeah, that's just the same thing would have happened if it was the other way around. If they were losing 3-0 and won 4-0, and then had another game where they were losing 3-0, they would have the mentality to say, well, it happened to us before and we won the game, so we might actually be able to do it again this time. And that's just how mentalities work for teams. Is when stuff happens to you in a certain pattern and it looks like it might happen again, you'll just default. You'll fall back to what happened last time or the time before that, especially if it's something that's occurred more than once. So I genuinely don't think that Alba's mentality is weak by any means. I mean, if it was, he wouldn't be playing as a starting left back for FC Barcelona. That's my honest take. Yep. I think he's an excellent player. He definitely has bags of experience, and he showed it. I mean, people say with that run that Lucas Vazquez made, people are saying that where is he? He's not in that position. But you have to remember that depends on what they've agreed on. Because if you're looking at it from traditionally the left back should be there, that's one thing. But then you look at Busquets tracking a certain player and another Real Madrid player going forward. I think it was Fede Valverde, that Alba was tracking. Because Valverde usually goes down that left-hand side anyways. So it would make sense for Alba to track him when he sees him running. And then telling whoever was playing on the left-hand side in a more attacking position to drop back and track Vazquez. Because if he doesn't track Vazquez, depending on who's in midfield, Valverde will be a free man. So there is a lot to be said, but I also think a lot of factors have to be considered when you talk tactics, because a lot of it is happening as the game is going on. And you can't just revert to these rigid, traditional marking zones, because it really depends on who's running and who your man is when you're tracking back and when you're defending. So I know people bashed him for that, but I think he did what he had to do there. And let's pretend that Alba managed to track Vazquez down. Valverde, let's say he wasn't marked, because Busquets was marking the zone in the half space between Valverde and Vazquez. If Valverde wasn't marked, the pass would have made inside to Vazquez instead of Benzema for the cutback, and they might have still had a goal. So a lot of it is what ifs, and I know a lot of people love to scapegoat, but the fact of the matter is that Barcelona right now are in a very good position, both in the standings, mentally, and as a team, are doing extremely well in so many areas. And it's just not being recognized because a lot of people like to say, oh, what's that? We lost to Paris Saint-Germain. We lost to Real Madrid. Okay, we're not doing well. What's new? Which just isn't true. That's how I see it.
Yep. Just really quickly to go back to Jordi Alba's mentality. I think, Fares, you just have to go back to the Granada game. He scored, I think, 2 goals, one with a header and another one with a beautiful volley. So I do think the mentality is there on the Ronald Koeman, especially if Ronald Koeman told him, like, that happened in the past. That's not going to happen now. Let's just focus on doing better every day. And yeah, maybe it could be a little bit like big stage scenario, but also these players have like all the experience in the world. They've played Euros, they've played World Cups, they've played Champions League, they've played everything that's possible for them to play. So I do think the mentality is there. To just were a little scared at some point, maybe, as Omar said, but I don't see it happening now, especially since all that happened under Ernesto Valverde, and now it's a different manager and it's a whole different new thing.
Different style.
Yep. So I don't think it'll happen again.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing as well that I know a lot of people are talking about. But I figured that I've been quiet around this for a while. Just because I didn't really want to get into it, but I'm glad I did, and I'm glad we just spoke about it here, because I feel like that scenario was the perfect one to emphasize. And I'm glad you brought back the Granada throwback, because that game really showed that the mentality has changed.
Yep.
So let's see. I think we have one more here from Sammy Goes Crazy. And he says, I just don't understand how some Barca fans are thinking the league is over. 1 draw in 8 games is absolutely nothing. They have tough games. And it's also worth noting that before this, Barcelona were on a quite long undefeated streak in La Liga as well.
I think it was like 15, 16
I
matches.
I think it was 17 or 18, actually.
Yep.
Which is a lot.
Yep.
And to be defeated in a game with under those rainy conditions, given how Barcelona played, I would say that is quite unlucky. So I mean, again, tons of reasons for Barcelona fans to be positive around the world, and be positive going into the Copa del Rey final this Saturday. Of course, the game, just trying to figure out exactly what time it will be played. I think it is 9 p.m. No, it's 9:30. 9:30 p.m. is when it will be played, and it is in neutral venue. I'm quite sure it is at the Estadio de la Cartuja, actually. So, a lot to look forward to. There is the league, there's the Copa, and the next season you've got 3 trophies once again to compete for. And if Barcelona managed to get the Copa del Rey in the bag this Saturday, of course, and the Supercopa. So, if Barcelona do manage to get the Copa del Rey this weekend, that's a huge boost. And I think that definitely will just give them that extra edge that they need to be able to get to the La Liga trophy as well. Let's see. Yeah, we saw that, and then we have Fares agreed with what we said in terms of Pedri tracking back or Alba tracking back. It said that it were smart tactics deployed by Zinedine Zidane, which, to be fair, it was. Yeah. But I think Ronald Koeman very much gave him a fight, and I think Barcelona were unlucky to only get away with 1 goal deficit. I feel like Barcelona should have had at least a draw, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is. And he says, Faris says, I do get sucked into this negative narrative and way of thinking that I see on the timeline all the time. So yeah, that's my bad. I know a lot of people do.
It does happen. I mean, it's really easy. You just see the same message over and over, and you're like, oh yeah. I mean, they're true. That's true.
Yeah, that's the thing with social media as well, is that a lot of people like to just have this negative narrative and have these agendas, and it's because that's what's popular. I also saw people talking about, I don't remember if it was Harry Maguire, and praising him. And people in the replies were talking about how because you praise him and that's not the popular opinion, you're not going to get as many likes and retweets and interactions, which is what a lot of people on social media focus on, is that they want these interactions, they want these likes, they want this popularity and this validation that realistically doesn't really mean a lot. But because it's projected as something that means a lot, that's what people want. And so if they know that putting up a tweet or a post bashing a certain player because that's the popular thing to do, they'll do that. And as a result, people will feed into this negative narrative because it's happening all the time, and it's happening from people they like or people they read from or people whose tweets they usually tend to enjoy reading. And you just get to this point where there's a huge bubble of just negativity floating around social media, and it just gets bigger and bigger by the day. And I think it's very important to be able to step out of that and sort of look at the bigger picture and say, okay, this player, according to many people, had a bad game. And this is not just about El Clásico. This is about any game you watch. But does that mean, is that true? Or is it just because that's the popular thing to say, which usually it's the latter. So Sammy Goes Crazy says the final on Saturday will have 30,000 fans. I'm not too sure, but we'll obviously keep you posted if that is the case. You can watch, you can keep in touch with us, and you can keep up to date with all Barcelona news and all Barcelona-related analysis and opinions on bloganagram.com. If you would like some merchandise to support us and support the brand, you can go to bloganagram.com/shop, or just go to bloganagram.com and click on shop. You can use code TDSLive for 15% off your next purchase. It, of course, helps us keep the lights on, and you'll look cool while doing so. So, yeah, I mean, I think this was a very fun episode, and I think we had a lot of interesting opinions and a lot of interesting things were said. And, of course, do remember that if you did enjoy this, you can always drop us a like or a follow or a subscription, depending on the platform that you're watching this on. And if you missed out on parts of this, don't worry, because it will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts very shortly. So with that note, I think we're good to end this episode. Do you have any last words, Joav?
Well, just for those of you that like to look back at results, Athletic Club don't actually have a really good streak at the moment. They lost 2-1 against Atletico. They drew 2-0 with 0-0 with Celta de Vigo. They drew with Eibar 1-1. They lost against Real Sociedad, and then they drew 1-1 with the Real Sociedad in La Liga. So let's hope that continues against Barcelona this Saturday. Barcelona can really make use of whatever isn't going that well for Athletic Club at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting point. I think a lot of people do like to look back at results and like to look at current form, because as much as that goes out the window at a Clásico, that's not necessarily the case for cup games and cup finals. So it'll be very interesting. Sammy says, all right, Les, thanks. Appreciate it. You're welcome. Farah says, Ramadan Mubarak if you celebrate it. Whereas, of course, for Muslims around the world, Ramadan will be either today or tomorrow, depending on who you follow, and in which case, happy Ramadan to everyone celebrating it. And to everyone else, I hope you're having a fantastic month despite the circumstances, and I hope you're staying sane, safe, and well. Joav, anything else to say?
No, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the interactions. Once again, shout out to Sammy Goes Crazy and his awesome avatar. And Faris, thank you for all the interactions. So yeah, I mean, let's stay positive. A lot of good notes for Barcelona right now. They lost, but they didn't lose, let's say, badly. They just lost because of two different situations. But yeah, I mean, let's stay positive, and let's hope that Saturday we can wrap up a win, and in 1 week we can be analyzing the win for Barcelona.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, this does happen every Monday at 4 p.m. Central European Time. So do tune in next Monday. We'll see you then. And until then, have a great rest of your day, and Godspeed. Roll that outro by Phil Shane, and we'll see you next time.
My name is Phil Shane, and you've been listening to The Driven Shot, hosted by Omar Hawwash and the Bloganagram News Outlet. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.